let's kick this thing off and start with the pledge. And Ted, you can lead us.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, let's start with some minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the February 9th public budget hearing number 2 and town warrant.
I will second.
Any discussion? This was pretty straightforward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will make a motion to approve the February 13th non-public meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And finally, I'll make a motion to approve the February 13th regular meeting minutes.
I will second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. With that, minutes, a few announcements. Select Board will meet on the following dates at 5 p.m., Monday, March 13th and 27th. All meetings are held here upstairs in Town Hall and held by Zoom. Zoom information can be found on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. Any citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before noon the Thursday before the scheduled meeting. Other important meetings coming up in March. So Tuesday, March 14th is town elections. Polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Plymouth Elementary School. And then on Wednesday, March 15th, we'll have our town meeting, also at Plymouth Elementary School in the gymnasium at 7 p.m. All right. And with that, let's take us to the town manager's report.
Yes. So, shorter report this week, but just a few things to mention. We had the Candidates Night 2023 held on February 21st at the Plymouth Regional High School. Candidates for Board of Selectmen, Plymouth Elementary School School Board, and Plymouth Regional High School School Board, as well as library trustees were present. I think it went off very well. We had about 65 that were attending through Zoom. Not all at one time, 20, 23 at one time, but good attendance, I thought. I have a message that I've put together for town meeting that I would like, I'm going to give you a copy now. It's my March message, but really directed towards town meeting and the budget. And I would like to be able to start off town meeting by reading this message. Not that you have to look through it right now, but I can get some comments from you later on that. But just kind of overview of how the budget was developed, the process that we went through with regards to the CIP. Also talking about our key priorities and some of our goals and objectives and things that we've done through financial transparency to make sure that the citizens, the residents, understand where we are through the budgetary process. But I'll let you have some time to look at that. Next, our 2023.
I really like the idea of you starting off town meeting this way. I think it's it'll add something to that meeting that I think's been lacking, where we just sort of get right into the warrant and there's not a lot of context. I think this starts a dialogue in a way that's really healthy. So I'm glad you put this together, Scott.
The 2023 reevaluation, Whitney Consulting LLC. I've executed the reevaluation contract with Whitney Consulting. Contract was reviewed by Town Council as well as the Department of Revenue Administration. No recommendations were made back from them. The project to kick off shortly after town meeting with a tentative completion of draft values ready early in July of 2023. The 2023 utility valuation proposal, as previously mentioned, the contract for Brian Fogg LLC was reviewed by Town Council, further reviewed and approved by the Department of Revenue Administration. The contract was executed with Brian Fogg LLC on February 15th for an April implementation. Next, Town Hall sewer issue. There's been a odor that's been permeating throughout the building for a period of time. I met with Jason Randall from Plymouth Village Water and Sewer, and it appears that the manhole cover in the basement has an open sewer drain in the manhole, which has been there for a period of time, but the smell had seemed to be getting stronger and stronger over the last few weeks. I consulted with Eastern Pipe, which is a company that Denron, our plumbing vendor, turned us to. There's not a lot of companies that do this type of work in New Hampshire. So I consulted with Eastern Pipe. Jason Randall from Plymouth Village Water and Sewer was here and was very helpful through the process. And they discovered through putting a camera through the lines that roots and debris were in the lines. Based on this discovery, a method to clean out the roots and debris was completed. This leads to the next phase, that the sewer drain pipes need to be relined. What they identified is we have a number of cast iron and clay pipes that run from the rear of the building to the front of the building, exit into a PVC connection, which is Plymouth Village Water and Sewers. So I've had two companies in to give us quotes on that. I had Eastern Pipe, we've had Rowells in, and Bellarmine will be in on Thursday. They're supposed to come tomorrow, but because of the weather, they're coming on Thursday. We'll get our 3 quotes and be able to bring that back and move forward from there.
Okay, guesstimate to a cost?
Around $19,000. And that's to reline all of the pipes that run through that whole area with what they put in as like a PVC liner. They blow it in, then it cures, and it is as strong as PVC pipe after that. What has happened is the cast iron pipes are pitted, and the clay fixtures, they're deteriorating from the inside. The next problem is what Plymouth Elementary School just went through with a collapse in line, which that's a much bigger project than if we take the initiative now and get this corrected.
Was there any signs of any collapse or anything, or was it
There
just
was not.
roots and pitting?
The roots have all been cleaned out, the debris has been all cleaned out. It's just a matter of the relining and filling in that manhole where that open pipe was.
Good.
So, correspondence, Cindy Wilmington is here with us tonight, and will speak with us in just a few minutes. I met with Congresswoman Custer and Aaron Cotton, her Deputy Constituent Service Director, and we discussed a number of projects to include EMS billing issues with regards to Medicare and the commercial market, grant opportunities through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, rural development, Northern Border Regional Commission, and the grants that could be available to us through that, and nonprofit organizations and community funding projects. So we talked about a lot that morning. She was here for about 40 minutes. She did provide additional information that following Monday with regards to grant opportunities, which I have started to follow up on that. Public notice of town-owned real estate for sale and bid package for the property located at Main Street, across, next to the lodge, between the lodge and the Plymouth Police Department. This notice was posted on February 21st, and a big bid package must be received at Town Hall March 13th before noontime, and the sale bids will be open at the March 27th Select Board meeting for that.
Did we set a minimum bid on that?
We did. We set that at $27,500, which was the assessed value
Assessed
on the
value.
property that we had discussed.
Perfect.
Plymouth State University update. I met with Tracy Klebon back on February 22nd. We started the discussion and we'll be setting meeting dates for the Life Safety Services Agreement. We had a good conversation and went through some of the additional memorandums of understanding that have been put in place, as well as talking about the meeting dates and when that would take place. My thought is you'd probably want a work session for that discussion. So what I will do is I'll work with Ann in the university and get a few dates set up in April and May so we can get this put in place before the June 30th, 2023 deadline.
Good. Are we going to work with that negotiator that we had who we talked to a year ago?
Yeah, the name is escaping me right now.
Yeah, his name didn't come to my mind either.
Well, yes, I have a call into him to have a conversation with him
Okay,
prior to us having the conversations.
good.
Homeless Security, Emergency Management, and FEMA meeting. That's kind of status quo right now, and was able to get all of the paperwork submitted that was asked for by us with regards to the damages we had during that late December storm, and we're just waiting a response back from FEMA and Homeland Security on what grant monies would be available, and if it was actually identified as a storm and accepted as such. Bill Johnstone from New Hampshire Electric Co-op was here on February 14th. We discussed a number of projects to include the Main Street lighting, Green Street solar lighting, energy efficiency study for Town Hall, and other projects and funding reimbursements available. I've got some follow-up to do with him with regards to the Green Street area as well as to the Rotary down at the north end of Main Street. Our cable contract status is the same. Zach, you mentioned the town elections and town meeting. Highland Street project, the request for qualification of engineers that will be selected for the design portion of the Highland Street project was developed and put a lot of work into that and should be recognized for that. It was reviewed by Plymouth Village Water and Sewer Department and approved by New Hampshire DOT. Marlon Austin, who is the engineer that we're working with from the state. The RFQ was sent out to state's pre-qualified listing of engineers. The responses are due back on or before 11 a.m. on Friday, March 3rd, this Friday. We anticipate that we'll hold interviews from selected responding engineers on or about March 20th. So the project's moving forward, and hopefully the next piece of it is we select the engineer for design, and then we'll move on to the engineer for the construction portion of the project. Downtown drainage project, Article 11 on the town warrant is to approve $1.8 million bond for construction. Approval of this bond would allow the town to move forward with construction, which could possibly be for spring of 2023. I will report current updates, and updates can be located on the town website under downtown stormwater drainage or project tabs, which has a complete drop-down for the downtown drainage project. But until after town meeting, and if the funds, or when the funds are approved, we'll be able to meet with Granisi, the contractor that was selected to come up with a timeline. But right now, it's still kind of in the air of when that will take place.
So that spring of 2023 is not
This spring.
actual.
It could very well be.
Really?
If they can fit it in their timeline. In discussions with them during the initial phase, is they have a big enough crew that they could come in and hopefully do it in one construction season, and it wouldn't linger on for 2 seasons. But I say that cautiously, not knowing that we haven't met with them yet and don't have the actual timeline in place.
But I assume that if this passes on the 15th, we'll be talking to them the next day or that week to try to make sure this all happens.
We will. I think we have a meeting with them actually on the 16th
Perfect.
to start that
Good.
conversation. So, and get that timeline in place, and that concludes my report.
Good report. Thank you, Scott. Any questions for Scott?
No, good.
What's that?
I just asked if
Questions
there's
for
any
you.
questions for you.
Oh,
If there are any. Next up is reappointment to LRPC for Bill Bolton.
I will make a motion that we reappoint Bill Bolton as the LRPC Commissioner of Plymouth.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I borrow your pen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? And we have another appointment, which is John Lappy to Lappy. Was that correct?
Make a motion that we appoint John Lappy as to the Plymouth Energy Commission.
I will second.
In the discussion section, I'll read his letter since we have one for this one. Dear members of the Plymouth Select Board, I am writing this letter to request an appointment to the Plymouth Energy Commission. I've been a resident and registered voter in Plymouth for 5 years and am interested in giving back to my community through public service. Energy policy has been an interest of mine ever since I interned for the Institute for Sustainable Energy in 2010. It's vital that our community protect the environment while simultaneously ensuring access to reliable and affordable energy. I have a PhD in political science, I work for Plymouth State, and my scholarly specialization is in local politics. While energy policy is not my area of expertise, I believe my background and research skills would be an asset to the Energy Commission. Thank you for considering my appointment to the Plymouth Energy Commission. If you have any questions or concerned, I can be reached via email or phone. John Lappy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I'll make a motion that we appoint John Christ, or Christ, I'm not really sure how he pronounces it,
First,
for reappointment to the Planning Board.
I'll second.
And John also has a letter. Dear Plymouth Select Board, I'm writing to request my reappointment to the Plymouth Planning Board. I have served on the Planning Board since 2020 and have served as chair for the past year. I also serve the board as chair of the Housing Opportunity Planning Grant Steering Committee. My experiences since joining the board have been tremendously rewarding, and I look forward to continuing to serve my community for another term. Please contact me if you have questions or concerns. John Christ. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Lots of good people serving on important committees. And going back slightly, we discussed the various positions that we have available, and it just was asynchronously communicated to me. I wanted to make sure the two of you had heard that we do have to, the person does have to be an acting commissioner to serve on the Executive Council, which is why we said.
Lakes Region Planning Commission.
Yes, going back to Lakes Region Planning Commission. That's why we wanted to make sure Bill was on it, even though Bill can't attend on Monday nights because we have this meeting here. Did we decide on who the second was going to be?
The planning board is, put that on their agenda. They're going to discuss it. We have until the end of March
Okay.
for them to really make that decision. So I was more worried about getting Bill on there.
Yep, so he
And
didn't
then,
lapse on the Executive Council.
You'll become the alternate, I believe, as long
Yep.
as you get reelected is what you indicated.
Yes, ideally what will happen is the planning board will choose someone,
Right.
and that'll be our second person, and then if I'm reelected, I'll be alternate. Yeah. We discussed it last time, wanted all that to get clearly tied up with a bow. Well, then that brings us to our guest, Executive Counselor Cindy Warmington. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Cindy Warmington, and I am the Executive Counselor for District 2. And this is, I've just recently been reelected to the Executive Council, so the Executive Council is not new to me, but I'm new to Plymouth because of the redistricting. Plymouth is now part of District 2, and so I will be serving you in Concord for the next 2 years, and actually Plymouth will be in District 2 for the next 10 years at least. My background is in healthcare. I had 40 years of healthcare experience before I came to the Executive Council, and have really focused on addressing a lot of the issues that have come up during the public health emergency. One thing of note that you should all know coming up is that the federal government has declared the end of the public health emergency to occur on May 11th. That's going to have some impacts that will be felt before the end of the public health emergency is that there'll be a significant decrease in SNAP benefits. And so we've been, the Department of Health and Human Services has been working to address that, the concern that people's benefits will decrease quite suddenly in March. And in April, the Department of Health and Human Services has already started the revalidation process for Medicaid recipients, but Many people may find that if they haven't gone through that process, they will be unenrolled, which can have significant impacts on our communities. Other things that'll come up before the council this year, this is an odd-numbered year, and so the 10-year highway transportation plan will come up. We will be holding hearings for the 10-year transportation plan all around the district, and you'll be hearing about that, and those will start this summer, and that process will continue through into the fall. In addition to that, it's a really good opportunity for me to get out and about among my district. As I said, I have 81 cities and towns in my district. 49 are new to District 2, and I am really trying to get to every single one, learn about your unique needs. Your executive counselor is really eyes and ears for you, and the one who can help you if you run into a log jam with a state agency. So please, please, please feel free to call me if you need assistance. It also gives me an opportunity when I hear what's going on in your community to keep an ear out for any unique opportunities or grant opportunities that you might take advantage of. One that we were just notified today is that the Moose Plate grant process is open or going to be open here very shortly, and so that is an opportunity that many of the cities and towns in District 2 have taken advantage of. I think that covers about all of it. You should all be already receiving my written updates after each council meeting. If you're not, we'll make sure that everybody gets on the email list, but we tried to update the email list at the beginning of the term, so you should already be receiving that update. That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions, and again, it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Yeah, Scott.
Cindy, I think I had sent some information previously, but 3 things that really are on our mind right at this time is Senate Bill 84, which talks about the charitable organizations and establishing a study commission to really look at that. In Plymouth, 53% of our property is nonprofit organizations or tax exempt, which really puts quite a burden on the remainder of the community. I had written a letter in support of Senate Bill 84, and I know that Bill Bolton testified on that bill, but just want to put that in the forefront to say that's a true issue here in Plymouth, and we need some sort of help and assistance in making sure that we're fairly represented on this bill. Second item is...
I do want to say on that, just to be clear, that the Executive Council is part of the executive branch, not the legislative branch, and I try to stay out of my colleagues' lane and stay in my own lane on that, but it's important to me to know that the issue is important to you.
Another thing is reimbursement issues affecting EMS revenues. And Plymouth is a town that provides contracted ambulance services for 4 towns surrounding us: Ashland, Holderness, Rumney, and Bridgewater. And knowing what we charge for our budget in regards to the service they receive, and then we use a billing agency called Medical Business Services out of Vermont. But what I have in front of me is a white paper that really talks about the reimbursement issues affecting EMS revenues, specifically in New Hampshire, with regards to Medicaid and the commercial market. And I want to be able to give this to you tonight so you can read through it and see some of the difficulties that we're seeing. There's, the numbers are, we lose roughly $600,000 in revenues when you're looking at ambulance billing, when you're only collecting 28 to 38% of what you bill out. And the Medicaid and the commercial market just send you back what they're going to pay. So it's a true issue, not only facing the town of Plymouth, but every EMS provider that has an ambulance transport throughout the state of New Hampshire. That's a municipal transport service.
Yes, I have already been hearing about this issue in other communities. You're not the first. I'd be happy to look at your white paper and review that and see where it is exactly that the Executive Council can help on this issue. One area is I do typically work closely with the Department of Health and Human Services on every amendment to the Medicaid managed care contracts. So this could be a consideration in those discussions, but there may be other places as well. So I'm happy to review that.
Great, thank you. And the last piece is we have some safety concerns out on Tenny Mountain Highway. The traffic has increased out there dramatically over the last few years. We've had a number of accidents out there. We have a number of intersections that come into Tenny Mountain Highway, which one specifically is Smith Bridge Road. And I wrote a letter back in January to Commissioner William Cass with regards to our concerns with this. I haven't received a response back, and I have a copy of the letter for you. But a true concern of looking at what the speed limit is out there, looking at increased signage on Tenny Mountain Highway, with regards to roundabouts or lights, or just having a true traffic study done for that area of our town. Our municipal services, both from an ambulance perspective and law enforcement, have responded out there numerous times for motor vehicle accidents. Never mind to mention the close calls that have occurred out there, but I have a copy of that letter for you as well.
And that intersection is in the 10-year plan. Our concern has been that maybe it's a little further out in that 10-year plan than is wise based on the safety issues.
Okay. Happy to look at that, and I work with the commissioner on many issues, and I will reach out to him this week and make sure that I look into the status of his response to your request. Yeah, thank you so much. This is why it's so beneficial to come to these meetings, so thank you. Anything else?
Anything else?
I think Scott covered it.
Yeah, Scott, I was waiting with the Tenny Mountain Highway one.
I know.
but You were right there with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate you coming in.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Well, that jumps us right down to committee reports.
Let's see.
Mary Ann.
Water and sewer, we talked extensively about the problems there at Town Hall, how bad it really was. And then, let's see, the EPA established a standard to get lead out of public water systems, when they're working on it, if they uncover it. So Wright Pierce is going to do an evaluation on Highland, Russell, Emerson, and Reservoir. Part of the problem is if they find lead, who's responsible? Who pays for it? If it goes to the homeowner, what if they say no? It'll have to be done when they sell the house. Does it have to be disclosed? Those type of issues they're trying to work through right now. That was the biggest discussion. What to do if the folks don't want to pay. Water and sewer can't by statute. That was it.
Any questions about water sewer?
No, none.
I assume they're all ready to go for the project this summer, assuming we are as well?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Spring, I guess, not summer. Spring.
They actually held a pre-construction meeting for the North Main Street project probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. And all vested interested parties were there, and they're ready to move on that. In fact, they've started bringing in supplies and stocking them down behind Plymouth Village Water and Sewer, but they're ready to move on that as well as South Main Street as well.
Nice. Neil is not here, and I did not attend planning board as an alternate. I don't know if anyone knows anything that came out of the most recent meeting. I didn't watch it online either. Anybody?
They had the discussion about the boundary line adjustment out on Thompson Lane, and I believe that was approved, and they've moved forward with that. I think that was the big topic for the last meeting. And I think they gave an update on the Housing Opportunity Project, which they'll start to hold meetings with individuals. Those meetings will be held at Pease Public Library, as well as a larger meeting that will be for the entire community on April 6th, I believe, at Plymouth Elementary School.
Okay.
And again, there's a project tab, I believe, or a portion of the website that's available that gives all the updates with regards to what's taking place and the links that are associated with that.
Good. Campus Community Council, Ted?
Nothing new to report, except for just making sure that we have March 22nd at 5:15 PM on the docket for here in this room, I assume. I think we gave a due date for the agenda coming from PSU of today.
So
Did you receive anything?
I do have agenda items from the police department, the fire department in the town. I am meeting with Marlon tomorrow
Okay.
afternoon at 2 o'clock, so I should have his agenda items at that time, which time I'll put together an email and get that sent out to everybody involved. But
Right.
first, for approval on the agenda.
I approve, but I have confidence in you. I have a list of people that historically have asked to be included, and I want to make sure that
Okay.
On the list.
we get them.
We've had some grumpiness about that in the past, so.
I have a
it'd be Nice
list,
to get this one right.
I will send you an update after Marlon and I meet tomorrow.
but I could also provide you the list if you're sending it out, and you could just add
I
them.
am happy to do that.
Okay.
That
Cool.
seems like a great option. Plymouth School District.
Last time, I didn't have my notes, but today I do.
Oh, yeah.
So for PES, I think most of the stuff was really focused around the budget prep. But they did talk about the principal's report, how they have 500 students, and that's been relatively stable. They also gave us handouts that show something that's along that line. They mentioned that the winter programming was wrapping up, and their mid-year assessment was complete. At that time, they were also finishing up their winter sports, Nordic, basketball, wrestling, and they also stated that they had a secure classroom drill coming up. I don't know exactly when that was, but I'm going to presume it's already occurred.
That did. It occurred last Thursday at the elementary school. It went very well. The police department was there, the fire department was there, I attended. And then we did kind of a little roundup meeting after with Tanya with regards to what the drill concluded being.
That's it.
Elementary school robotics team won the design award in the by-state championship. So a little shout out to the robotics team. And then
Skate team.
on the
won.
high school, the Nordic team won the state championship, and wrestling
Yes.
won the
wrestling.
state championship.
I
So
actually saw one of the
one of the parades.
ski jump
Oh.
people on the news up in the Berlin area when they were using
Oh, really?
the ski jump.
That's awesome.
They were being interviewed.
So good stuff coming out of the athletics. No Neil, so we'll skip Conservation Commission. Capital Improvement will still rest for a bit longer. Advisory Budget Committee, same story. LRPC, we just did our nominations, and hopefully we'll start getting some better LRPC updates if we can get a planning board person on there. Parks and Rec, Ted.
I know that Lisa was going to reschedule the meeting, but I don't recall her giving me a date, so I'll have to reach out to her.
I think tentatively she wanted to set it for March 22nd, and I mentioned to her that was the night that we were having the
Campus Community.
meeting. Yeah.
I'll reach out to her and see. Worst case scenario is I won't be able to attend.
Parking Committee.
So we met on 117, yeah, what's that, 2 Fridays ago, Friday ago. Still, obviously, all talking about the Green Street project. Gail from the senior center, they bought solar lights and they were installing them along with motion detectors. That, I'm assuming, is done by now. We talked to them, Grace talked to Gail about keeping the lights on by the senior center on all the time. They are not amenable to that. Their electric bill is already,
Already too high.
yeah, way too high. Gail was going to reach out to Bill Johnstone as well from the co-op for a
there any-
potential grant.
Those lights that you're talking about, are they're on the building or?
No, they're along Green Street. They're not, are they attached to the building? They're kind of where the overhang is. I can't remember if they're actually attached to the overhang or standalone. I don't recall. Let's see. It looks like there's so we talked a couple weeks ago about splitting the number of parking spaces between permitted parking in the senior center. So there are 42 total spaces, so basically it comes down to 20 for the town, 20 for the senior center. There'll be no, we talked about Jersey barriers, but I can't remember, they must be putting in Jersey barriers, and then they'll remove them, because the parking's only gonna be from April 1st to October, the permitted parking. Peter, who is a friend of Grace, who did the whole testing of the solar lights, will also be just setting up a sketch for all the lights, so we know where they all belong. Kind of the rub right now is who can we get to install them? What's his name? Steve Foreman for Highway was going to reach out to Hutchins Electric and see if they would do the work. Ryan Horn as well. That's it. So going forward, hopefully we're still on track for April 1st. Like I said, the rub really is who can do it. Getting someone to do the work.
Well, hopefully that problem gets solved. Is there someone who's doing the follow-up on that to find someone?
So Steve.
Steve from from
Highway. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any questions about parking? Skipping Perlac, because no Bill and Neil. Economic Development Committee, still nothing. Skipping Energy Commission, because no Bill. Chamber of Commerce.
Haven't met since.
Well, nothing to say about that then. Which, if my agenda reads correctly, that takes us to public comments. Frank had a whole speech prepared.
Yes, my speech is an excellent meeting.
Thank you, Frank.
Zach, I do have some items to be signed, but those can be done.
Right at the end here, yeah. Nothing that needs discussion. Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
What?
This is bizarre.
I'll hold off on seconding this.
I'll second it, just
There you go.
to mess with
Fair
us.
enough.
All those in favor?
Aye. So strange.
This feels very.
Still
opposition.
daylight.
It's still daylight and it's not even 6 o'clock.
When's the last time this happened?